So now, as our final presenter for this session is KaNisa Williams, who will be talking about canvassing the truth, navigating the digital age in a world of misinformation. KaNisa, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. I hope you all can see and hear me. I'm not entirely sure on the backstage, but we'll see, or I'll find out soon if you're not.
Yes,
so
we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm reading your lips. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Sharing and sharing the entire screen. Yes. It's just like work, y'all. Okay. So hopefully this is working. All right. So hello, everyone. As I was introduced, my name is KaNisa Williams, also known as Darlene Nisi. Today, we're talking about canvassing the truth, navigating the digital age in a world of misinformation. So amazing presentations so far have preceded me with my adopted aunties, Auntie Camila, keeping it real about the cultural context and Blackdom of which the truth sits. Auntie Rhonda, thank you so much for your review of each song on the album and some of the themes that were covered as part of it. And the amazing Mr. Seeley McInnes really speaking to the spiritual exploration of what the truth means and how we can remember or learn to love and accept ourselves in that journey to loving others, which I think kind of pairs well with my presentation today. So we've heard this phrase several times today, but it's a great question and a great lyric. What if half the things ever said turned out to be a lie? How will you know the truth? Thinking back on the evolution of mass media, over generations we've lived through, we've had radio and newspapers and magazines. There were barriers of entry to enter into these professions, educational degrees, apprentices, networks that would vouch for your ability to write or convey information. At first, with the advent of the internet, there was also limited to who had access to even get on and speak. You may have been able to hop online to share info through news groups or message boards in the earlier days of consumer internet, or later set up your GeoCity site or LiveJournal or MySpace or Black Planet page. The explosion of access gave a voice to anyone and everyone who was willing to speak out, which is a wonderful way to connect with people from around the world on a multitude of topics. But that access and those voices did not always carry the journalistic integrity and ethics of older avenues of mass communications. Also, with the proliferation of the internet, more traditional forms of communication now had to find a way to stay relevant. More than an all caps headline on a newspaper of yesteryear, how can you get people to read it if they don't even see it in the first place? How do you compete with information providers who can turn around headlines, tweets, blog posts, blogs, and podcasts within minutes and have those messages boosted to thousands or even millions within seconds? And then you think about, as an audience, how do we navigate the fire hose of information that comes our way from almost overwhelming sources of information with varying levels of integrity? So introducing this opportunity canvas. So this tool was developed by Jeff Patton, who's one of the leading voice in agile software development, which is kind of my expertise in my area of my career outside of print stuff. And he's especially known for the story mapping, a book that he wrote on this. Based on the business model canvas or lean canvas, this tool is used to help organizations flesh out a business opportunity or product. As someone who works in software development, people come to me all the time about wanting a new application or app or website. And one of the fundamental questions I ask is, what problem are you actually trying to solve? Or what is the use case of this idea? And is it feasible with the resources that you have to make it happen? That's not generally a question that people think about much or even like to even think through. Going to someone to make an app or a website is generally thought to be the job of the coder, not the person asking for it. So what I'd like to kind of look at today is this opportunity canvas concept and how it really breaks apart all it takes to create an idea, not an application or a website, but to really flesh out, what is it that I'm trying to build? Why is this important? Is it valuable? Is it relevant? Is it viable? And is it feasible? Then we'll take that same framework and, using lyrics from Princess to Truth, we'll adapt it to use as a tool for us in discerning how we analyze the information we come across during the day. So this is the opportunity canvas, and it has 9 different dimensions. Of course, this is kind of a lot, but we're going to kind of walk through it so we can understand what it means. So the first one is problems. What problems do prospective users and customers have today that your solution addresses? Number 2, users and customers. What types of users and customers have the challenges that your solution addresses? You're wanting to look for different user goals or uses that they would need, that would affect the use of your project. Number 3, solutions today. How do users address their problems right now? List your competitive. Number 4, business challenges. How do the customers and users and their challenges impact your business? If your target audience has your solution, what will they do differently as a consequence? How will they use your solution and how will it benefit them? Number 6, what specific user behaviors can you measure that will indicate that they tried, adopt, used, and placed value in your solution? Number 7, adoption strategy. How will the customers and users discover and adopt your solution? 8, business benefits and metrics. What business performance metrics will be affected by the success of the solution? These usually are changed as a consequence of users actually buying and using it. And number 8, what might it cost your organization if you don't create this solution? What might your organization earn or save if you do? Given that, what would your organization budget to create this solution? So that's a lot. These are 9 things, and they're deep things and different ways to look at what am I trying to build? Why am I trying to build it? And what is the impact of this thing that I'm trying to build? And how will it stand out? Or even deeper, is my idea viable enough to build an application or a product or whatever on? So let's kind of take this same kind of canvas and turn it on its side a little bit and think through. We're not building an idea, but we're thinking through. I have observed some sort of information, it's come across my timeline or whatever. How can I consider whether or not this piece of information is valuable, relevant, feasible? So again, taking this canvas down to 8 instead of 9, let's kind of look or look at the lyrics of the truth and kind of apply it here. So for problems, what if half the things ever said turned out to be a lie? How will we know the truth? Or in the Canvas way, what is the main idea being conveyed by this piece of information and what comes up for me as I take it in? So let's apply this as an example. Let's say, oh, I don't know, you heard that Diamonds and Pearls Deluxe is coming out and is likely to be released this year. So if we're taking that example, the main idea being conveyed is that I heard that this new deluxe edition was coming out and allegedly is supposed to be done by the end of the year. So that's number 1, okay? Number 2, users and customers. If you were given all the answers and you stop to wonder why, how will you know the truth? Who is the target audience of this piece of information? Who or what is the source of this information? So thinking, using the example again, so this particular website that's known by prince collectors and folks inside of that. But it's big news to us as the target audience because we love deluxe editions, we'll spend money on it. And this is a later album that doesn't have as much stuff around it. I'm sorry, it does. It's one of the most commercially popular albums, but we're finally getting a later album that's not new, but has a new band and it's not from the 80s. So we're very excited about that, right? So number 3, everybody's got a right to love. Everybody's got a right to lie. Solutions today. How is this information you've come across been vetted? Are there any other sources that confirm this information as true? So again, this isn't a mainstream outlet that I found this out from, but Prince fans do keep up with this site. And it makes sense because Diamonds and Pearls, again, is one of the most commercially successful albums. And it's an anniversary year. So it would make sense, right? But it's weird, though, that the only other reference or source of this information was one site that everyone might have been like some interview that I heard that Michael Bland said he was talked to about this album by the estate. So it's not confirmed, but it seems feasible. Business challenges. What motivation does this information provider have in sharing this tidbit? Or from the lyric perspective, what if time's only reason was to give us all something to fear? And if so, y'all, the end of the journey is so clear. So you're thinking through, okay, let's be real. One of the main things about the Prince fandom that we all like to claim is that you heard it here first. Clout and proximity is a currency here. It's used for folks to position themselves as authorities and influencers in the absence of Prince speaking for himself. While the estate has multiple channels to do this themselves, some fans do find value in the personal collections that these folks provide. And then thinking historically, Prince did share information and sometimes even songs with the people he chose to leak things, though not sure how much of the estate is utilizing that method now, outside of the semi vague kind of interviews with Michael Howe that he does every once in a while. But sometimes information is shared because the information is given through reputable sources. Sometimes the information is shared based on those channels, but sometimes it's conjecture based on those channels as well. There's always going to be a risk in sharing non confirmed information. If the state didn't announce it, there's always a chance it may not come to light. Not because it's a lie, but sometimes it's business priorities or snags or mishaps or just misunderstandings. So, thinking of the motivation of why they're sharing it, it could be a lot of things. Number 5, how will users use the solution? What did you stand for? Who did you save? What will you personally do with this information? I'm going to do 5, 6, and 7 here. What value does this information hold for you? And then does this information impact how you move in the world and why? So again, let's recap. So we've got the rumor that this is coming out probably by the end of the year. We've got people reporting it, and they're generally right about their predictions. They're usually off by a little bit, but not too far off. I've heard people in NBG talking about how they've been spoken to about it. It's an anniversary year, and the Prince account is now posting things about it too. It's got to be intimate, right? But then thinking about what you're doing with this information, are you going to tweet about being excited about the announcement, comment on their posts about when it will be announced, check all your music providers to see if it's been leaked anywhere there as a pre-sale, put alerts on the official account to see, okay, I'm going to know, I'm going to be the first to know, I'm going to retweet it, it's going to be amazing. Or are you going to just quietly watch and hope and wonder if it'll even happen? And then number 8, budget. So when it comes right down to it, you take more than you gave. Or what does this information cost you in believing that it's true or false? There's a quote by Dr. Steve Maraboli. He said, expectation feeds frustration. It is an unhealthy attachment to people, things, and outcomes we wish we could control, but don't. What is the energetic cost for truly and deeply believing something that will happen, and that something doesn't come to pass in the way that you expect? In the case of this deluxe edition announcement, where can you place the blame if it doesn't happen? Is it on the estate, though it's something that they never announced or confirmed? Is it the original source of information, though they also mentioned that it was just a guess and also not confirmed? Is it the people who promoted the information? Or is it yourself for believing the rumor to be true? And no one really wants to claim that, so let's push that to the side, right? But what is not personally labeling it as viable until it's confirmed by an official source? It's not as fun, but maybe less disappointing when the rumor doesn't come to pass. So, 8 different things to think through, right? This is a lot, but it's really trying to critically kind of turn it aside. Like, there's my immediate response to something that I see float across my timeline, but there are also steps to take to think, oh, wait, let me back up a little bit. I know I have an emotional attachment to this, but what is actually real about this versus what am I projecting onto this situation? And it's kind of interesting how it feels like this firestorm of a response. It was a firestorm of expectations, and then it became a firestorm of disappointment. Again, is it necessary to employ all of these different 8 dimensions each time I come across something on my timeline? Probably not. Uh, but it is an interesting exercise to kind of go through when you come across something that resonates with you. And when I say resonate, I don't mean just mad or sad or essentially information that you're passionate about. One of my favorite online personalities is Miriam Hasna. You might see me retweeting her a lot. She says that energy is currency. A lot of folks spend a lot of time looking into things that they love or dislike or ridicule regularly. And again, spending their limited energy providing commentary and judgments on what they see. For what? Because energy vampires are real, and much of what floats across your timelines is intentionally crafted to get you to leak that energy so you don't have it to spend on more valuable uses of your time. So, employing eight dimensions coming across information. Number one, consider your own reaction. Why do you care? How does this impact you? Number two, consider the source. Why are they sharing this information? What do they have to gain by sharing it? And number three, consider your response. Once you've processed the information, what will you do with it? What is your motivation behind that action that you decide to take? Finally, though this quote came a few years after the truth, moving through life with awareness and intention certainly seemed to be a foundational thread of Prince's life work and lifestyle. I'd like to close with something he said about engaging with the internet back in 2001. I am not one to judge what is beautiful. I do not I do know what isn't beautiful. Everybody's a critic. People are flaming each other without any knowledge of the effect it has on them. But I guess what I find beautiful on the internet is wherever I find agreement. That's beautiful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, KaNisa, with another really innovative and refreshing dimension with which to look at the truth.